Alright guys, Inferno here, and today we're back for another lore video. So this one's gonna be basically everything we know about the Grand Navy. Starting with the origins, and then speculations in the current King Admiral, stuff like that, and just everything else that we know lore-wise. So yeah, if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, and let's get into it. Alright, so the first sort of thing that led to the creation of the Grand Navy, this is like 150 to 200 years ago, was obviously King Nero, who destroyed Winter Vale. King Nero is King Calph's grandfather. He had his like curse, whatever curse he had, I actually forgot, but then, what was it, Apocalypse Bringer? Anyway, he had his curse and he went and destroyed Winter Vale and like was terrorizing like all the kingdoms basically, right? So he ended up getting defeated by a coalition from multiple kingdoms around the Bronze Sea, I believe. This actually is stated by Vatex in the Discord and not in game, I think. If it's stated in game, let me know, because I couldn't find anything about it in the actual game. But anyway, so he was arrested by a coalition from multiple kingdoms, so they just teamed up to take this guy down because he was like a menace. And his actions are what sparked the creation of the Navy. So they teamed up to take this guy down, and then that was sort of the first incident that made people realize they need like a military force in the lower seas, I guess, right? People getting too greedy, I suppose. I don't know. Too many criminals. Anyway, so that's like the first thing, King Nero, and then that didn't actually make the Navy itself, but that was kind of like the foundation for it, right? People realized that there's too many bad people in the world. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, so moving on. The main thing, and I guess the one in the focus of this video, is on Blackreach Island in the Bronze Sea, there's like a destroyed ship where you can find a note, right? And it kind of gives the lore on how the Grand Navy was actually formed. So there's a bunch of notes, I'll put them on the screen. So day 106. After our king reformed our country, the Astoria Kingdom, into the Grand Navy, our war on piracy has been a deadly and costly one. Thank the gods it's almost over. But I respect my king for it. It was a tragedy that his parents, the former king and queen of Astoria, were killed by pirates. He truly wishes no other child to go through what he had. What a sincere man. His personality is so magnetic, we've had 1,000 volunteers sign up for the grade. Alright, so basically, it's quite obvious here that the Astoria Kingdom was like the foundation for the Grand Navy. I don't know what sea this is in, to be honest. Probably one of the... well, maybe the Marauder Sea, because that's where they're fighting the Corsairs. I'll get into that in a second, but I don't think it's confirmed we know what sea this is in, but probably not the Bronze Sea. So they made the Grand Navy, and then a bunch of people joined them, right? Like a bunch of other kingdoms had people sign up for it. And yeah, so we'll get into the one in a second, but moving on. I bet a lot of people want to protect their families and kingdoms from pirates too. Universal problem. And we're cleaning up the seas, so everyone kind of wanted them there after the King Nero stuff. Because he was just... I guess everyone was scared of him, right? Even the higher seas. And then he says that most people still live on the Grand Navy capital island, which... who knows where that is. Probably in the later seas, obviously, because... you know, power scaling, but... yeah. And then, okay, moving on, day 109, this is sort of why the ship was broken and stuff like that. Of course, the last pirate commodore, Captain Fulk, don't think he's mentioned elsewhere, I could be wrong. But he's just like a big bad pirate dude, basically, who's hiding out in Blackreach, which is why the note was there. Basically, they just, try to starve them in like the labyrinth. They're like stuck there, running them low on supplies, stuff like that. He's called Fulk the Vermilion Dread. That's kind of tough. And he's just a pretty big bad pirate, obviously. And day 113, he killed one of the majors, which I guess makes sense, because if you see here, he has ancient lightning magic, which is like level 600 stuff, so I don't know why a major is being sent to fight him, but anyway. And then he got beat by a rear admiral, which makes more sense, because Admiral is a lot stronger than a major would be. And yeah, so basically they ran him off, and they couldn't confirm his death, but I guess he could show up later in the story as like a, I don't know, half immortal dude or something, but we'll see. But they say he's dead, even though there's no body, so maybe he'll come back to life in the story, who knows. The last pirate captain, that was his name. Don't know what that means. I mean, I guess after Gravy was formed, they like tried taking down all the big pirate captains, and this was the last one left. Even though now in the main story there's a lot more that have come back, right? I mean the Corsairs and stuff like that. Captain Maria's like higher ups. Anyway, and I say that we rebuild our forces and prevent piracy and nonsensical death. We cannot stop Kingdom from fighting wars, so it's clear they don't really intervene on that kind of stuff. They just stop like straight up criminals, but they can't really do much against kingdoms, which is why I guess Ravenna was corrupt for so long until we packed up King Calvus. And then the Historic Kingdom will live on once Gravy back in those smaller world of the War Seas by Captain Bowie. So these are kind of just random names, but obviously you can see here it's like a pretty good, what's the word, like introduction to the Grand Navy and how they were made. Now that's kind of all we have for the how it was made part. So King Nero did some bad stuff, and there's a bunch of other bad pirates today. Yeah, the Astoria Kingdom like made the Grand Navy. Now I do want to touch on back here the King of Astoria who formed it. I feel like there's a pretty good chance this guy is either this guy or someone related to him is a King Admiral, right? Because first of all he's a king, and then he has the backstory for it as well. I mean, his parents were killed by pirates. That's like pretty believable, right? I mean, I expect like a Kainu from One Piece to have a similar backstory, just like a hatred for pirates. And now this obviously was a while ago, but if he was a curse user, he could still be alive. So, I mean, there's also no mention of multiple King Admirals, so it is possible this guy is a curse user, and he's also the current King Admiral, and was King Admiral back then as well. So yeah, I mean, that seems pretty likely to me, the King of Astoria being the King Admiral. Well, the past King of Astoria, he's probably not the King of Astoria anymore, but you know, the once King of Astoria who's now still the King Admiral, basically. And then the King of Astoria will be someone else by now, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of most of what we know. Now, moving on to like what's happening currently in the game of the Grand Navy. So we know from Captain Maria that there's a war going on between the Grand Navy and the Corsair country, or whatever they're called, in the Marauding Sea. So, and she mentioned that she's under the Drachmae pirates. Sorry, Captain Maria was part of the Drachmae pirates, and she was serving under Duke de Roy, one of the 6 Corsairs. So there's gonna be 6 like big captains of this pirating faction almost, right? Yeah, so yeah, they're called the Drachmae pirates, and which Maria says they're the richest in the War Seas, which is also doesn't make sense because they're renaming galleons to Drachma in the next update, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, so that's that's going on. Obviously, we'll probably have to help out in that once we get to the Marauder Sea. Don't know which one that is, but yeah. So there is one little bit of other Grand Navy lore I want to go into. Let me go find it real quick. Yeah, if you come talk to this guy, it tells you about like this criminal that's been missing and they've come back. Someone called Mizeria, notorious serial killer, killing Navy officers. And then they thought she killed her, and then she came back, or someone that looked like her came back. Magic, energy-induced burn marks, murder by strangling. And they saw her corpse, but she's somehow back, so that's... I'll probably counter it later in the game as well, as like a boss or something. Maybe she had some sort of, I don't know, how would you come back to life? Maybe she has like some sort of curse where she's going to change her appearance or something. That'd be interesting. Anyway, that's kind of all for this video. Hit the subscribe button if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next one.